Mickey is with AECOM, and he has over 30 years experience working with communities in street design. It's a great pleasure to have him in this meeting, and welcoming you, Mr. Mickey O'Brien, for assisting us with this training and also helping our communities in the area of this transportation and every other aspect of connectivity program. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Kay and Sheena, and good morning, everyone, and thank you all for joining today. This is going to be a presentation on the Complete Streets active transportation facilities, and really an overview. I mean, we could talk about this all day. I could. I'm very interested and passionate about it, and hopefully you all are as well. Going to try and get through some slides, maybe go to a couple of resources y'all all may know or may not know, and then answer questions. But I really want this to be something that's useful for you all. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out at some other time, and I'll be glad to help you out as much as I can. So once again, good morning. And we'll move on here. Let's see. Okay, next slide here. All right. So let me move this out of the way here. So Kay gave a little bit of background on myself. My name is Mickey O'Brien. I'm from South Georgia as well. Originally, I'm from Southeast Georgia. I've been practicing planning and multimodal design for almost 30 years. This is my 20th year with AECOM. I lead our Complete Streets East Region sector. So I'm constantly interacting with other leaders around the country and the world and exchanging notes and things like that. Due to my experience with streetscapes and complete street conversion projects, GDOT selected me to author the Pedestrian and Streetscape Guide, which we'll touch on in just a minute. That's a reference that I do want you all to be familiar with. My experience, again, is in the planning, design of complete street conversion projects. I'm an advocate and a promoter and designer of green infrastructure applications in the urban environments, design open space, and really have a passion for providing equitable transportation facilities that are safe for all. And that's really the essence of Complete Streets. My design philosophy is really the integration of transportation and land use. You should never look at these individually. These should always be looked at holistically, and oftentimes they are not. So that's a key point, key message I want to convey today. And then also placemaking. Placemaking is kind of the icing on the cake, right? When I travel places, the things I remember, and I'm speaking for myself, but it probably relates to you all too, is what I see, usually first impressions, are the streets clean, or the buildings nice, or are the people nice, and is the food good? So, those are the things I remember. We're all probably a little different there, but probably a lot alike as well. I love to draw and work with communities. So what is a complete street, right? So a complete street, I'm going to just kind of cover a couple of definitions. The US DOT definition is streets that are designed to enable safe use and support mobility for all users. This includes people of all ages, abilities, really, all people trying to get from point A to point B. But I like the National Complete Streets Coalition definition, which is really, it's an approach from the beginning of the planning through the implementation of a project. So you want to be thinking of all users from the very beginning, not just the old paradigm is cars, 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 right? Even in smaller towns and rural America, across the country, the federal government is funding projects in all types of areas, not just in urbanized areas, to develop transportation facilities, equitable transportation facilities for all users. Not everyone wants to own a car. Not everyone can afford to own a car. And not everyone wants to drive a car. So there is federal money out there, but my point here is it's an approach, thinking of all users throughout the process. Let me hear 1 second here. Okay, so again, the approach in the process here, is this screen in the way of y'all at the bottom here? Okay, there we go. So when developing Complete Street, you want to evaluate the context, right? As I was saying, land use and transportation work hand in hand or not. In the past, I think we've missed the bullseye more than we've hit it. But not all streets are created the same, or roads, right? I mean, we wouldn't be looking at a complete street or a complete road on an interstate, right? And if you're in an industrial area, you might have a different approach. You got more trucks and things of that nature. So you need to still provide these accommodations, but you might want to address them slightly different depending on the context you're in. Industrial, rural, there's an urban context, and there's an urban core context, which is more of larger cities. You want to conduct your due diligence with your client on the plan developments within the project area, because really all of that feeds into the traffic forecasting. And these projects really typically are community driven, community supported, and they're for the community. So you really need to engage the community early on. It's a multidiscipline approach, especially if there's federal funding, because you have to go through the NEPA process, which is the National Environmental Protection Act. So you need archaeologists, you need historians, ecologists, you need all of these things, especially if you have federal funding. If you're funding this locally or through a SPLOST tax, the process gets narrowed down and you can get these projects implemented typically a lot quicker. But in addition to the NEPA specialists, you have roadway engineers, drainage engineers, urban designers, landscape architects who specialize in multimodal and placemaking projects. Now you can see in the upper right-hand corner how the width of the sidewalk varies depending on the area you're in. And these are just some general guidance measures. And just for a second, I want to show y'all this document here. If you go to Google and type GDOT pedestrian streetscape guide, what you're going to find is this document, and it provides great guidance on the initial steps of creating these multimodal type facilities. We even had representatives all across the country involved in this. This is a project that I was the project manager on, but Southern Georgia Regional Commission, Sabeta Kawati was involved in this project. So you can see City of Valdosta. Actually, she was not with, we just have Southern Georgia Regional Commission. She's actually not with them. These were external stakeholders we had in addition to the different agencies on the left. But this is a great document. It's got hyperlinks in it. Additionally, Sheena reminded me that you can click on, let's just say, I want to find about ADA ramps. If you click on that, it takes you straight to it. There's additional hyperlinks embedded in there. App design requirements and things of that nature. So and it talks about, and then this next chapter talks about bike lanes, sharrows, two-way cycle tracks. I believe the gentleman is on from Darts. So if we go back to the table of contents real quick, and then I'll move on from this, but we can go to transit, and let's see here. Trying to go to the next one. I'm sorry, the next one here. Transit stops. Okay, so you click on that, and it gives you initial guidance on transit stops. The application, the typical speed limit where these were at, and then critical design requirements, and then near side and far side stops. So I just wanted to point this out, and then it gives you references to other more detailed information in here. So great guide to help you with your projects. A good first step. Back to the PowerPoint here. So let's go back here. Sorry, here. All right. So once you have developed your project, or the community has said, hey, this street is, we feel dangerous on it, and the community, and it has a history of crashes, then you've got the seeds of a project started. But you want to conduct a traffic analysis early on, because a lot of times these complete streets might be a road diet or not. They may require some right-of-way to accommodate heads and cyclists in a safe manner. All right, so as I mentioned, it's usually community driven, community supported. It's your right-of-way and your streets. I mean, it's your taxpayers, your dollars at work here. So we want to make sure that we design it the way the community would like for it to be designed, with professional guidance along the way. These projects do not move forward without community support and stakeholder support. At the end of the day, we want to provide equitable, safe transportation facilities for all. So what are some benefits? So they can be a catalyst for economic redevelopment. Private investment tends to follow public investment. This picture down at your left-hand corner here is in Swanee, Georgia, a small town of maybe 11,000 population. We converted a road into a street. The developer said this project was the reason why he developed or invested $150 million in new multi-family and commercial development, which you see on the bottom left here. We talked about providing equitable modes of transportation, promoting an active lifestyle, improving your health and wellness, reducing conflict points. We'll get to that here in just a second. So the 4-lane undivided road, right? That is the road, is usually a good candidate to start looking at a potential road diet. Now, there is a threshold. That's why you have to do a traffic analysis. Once you get into the mid 20,000s, many times these do not work. These conversions do not work. But what happens is, if you're in that inside turn lane and you want to make a left, what happens? You're backing traffic up all, behind you. And then people start weaving and trying to go around you. And then the person behind you cuts around you and you get side swipes. By converting that into a one dedicated through lane in either directions and a dedicated center turn lane, you reduce the road width that's dedicated to the vehicle, and you can provide that additional space for pedestrians, streetscapes, if desirable, and safe bike facilities. And it reduces a lot of conflict points. And then also you want to create a unique sense of place. Okay, now this picture on your right, is that unique? Not really. That could be anywhere in Georgia or anywhere in the South, probably. I would say anywhere in the country, but I don't see cactuses or anything like that. But this is more what you want. You want to engage the community. You want to involve them along the way, the artist community, dig into the history of your community. And how can you weave all of these cultural elements together to where when people come visit your town or your city, they can leave with a memorable experience and learn something about where you live. It also promotes civic pride because the taxpayers see that their tax dollars are actively at work. And when people come visit you, it creates a memorable experience. So engaging the art community and really celebrating the rich history of your area is vital. Everything that goes underground, utilities and things, people really don't notice until they can't flush their toilet or turn their water on. Then the phone rings off the hook. But people do really remember what they see and experience. Wanted to share one other resource here, and then we're going to get into some project examples. So this is the U.S. Department of Transportation's website. Currently, there is a grant out that's called Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods. This website will provide you directions on how to apply. Other projects that have been awarded, this would be a list of all the projects across the country. I'm working on 2 projects through this grant application now. One is in Athens, Georgia, and one is in Decatur, Alabama. And basically, these grants are targeted for communities that have been underserved, or through the course of planning and designing transportation facilities, they've divided communities, or they're in areas that have been underinvested. So if you apply for this particular grant, that would be where you would want your focus on, is equitable transportation facilities and trying to maybe rewrite what was maybe done wrong in the past. Just wanted to show you, this is a great website. I highly encourage you to do it. Just keep in mind that when you use federal funds, it can double and sometimes triple the length of time it takes to complete your project due to a lot of the processes involved. But these 2 projects I mentioned to you, the one in Athens, they received a $25 million grant. The one in Decatur received an $18.5 million grant for a shared use path. So there is money out there, and I just wanted to touch on that. So I highly encourage you to visit this website, learn as much as you can, and see if you have any projects that fit the bill. I believe June 17th is the deadline for this round, but there'll probably be future rounds associated with reconnecting communities. All right, so back to the PowerPoint here. All right, here's some project examples. I'm gonna try and go ahead. Yes, sir.
Just also want to add this to the grant opportunities Joe shared with the participant. I would love you to kind of also let them know that it will be better if they have a plan in place, because most of these grant opportunities that
That's a good
out
point.
there, they want to see that you have a viable project
Yes.
and you have a plan in place. That way they got,
Yes.
more kind of convinced that okay, you are being proactive. And
That's right.
also they also want to see communities that are being impoverished,
Yeah.
low,
Overlook. Yeah.
low, exactly. And if you have all those things, in place, you stand in the best chance to, go for this grant. And as regional commission, we've been trying to like get on this as well. But one of the challenges that that we encounter is, that nobody has a plan in place,
Mhm.
and there's no way we can, justify. We know that there are communities that, low income communities, but they don't want to only rely on those census data, but they want us to kind of prove beyond the reasonable doubt that, these communities, they need this fund to kind of,
Yes.
connect this neighborhood that has been neglected for years or been segregated,
Right.
and, connecting places to places. So,
That's right.
um, yeah,
That
so
no,
for,
that's perfect, Kay, and
um,
thank you for reminding me that. Yes, so I don't know if you're doing. I believe in Georgia you have to do a comprehensive plan every 5 years. As part of that, you can cover well, you should cover transportation. You engage the community, and you identify projects, rank projects out of that list. Then you pick a project that fits the specific application, in this case, connecting communities, that would be most appropriate for this grant. So, whether it's a comprehensive transportation plan, CTP, or a comprehensive plan, you do and should develop a planning process that ranks and identifies projects that shows that there's been some community involvement. Um, and then that becomes sort of I mentioned a seed, that becomes the seed that blooms into, a complete street or an improved street. So yeah, great point. Okay. It does start with planning. It helps your chances of getting the grant if you have those in place early on. Right. So back to some project examples here. So this is, we talked about Buford Highway earlier. This is a before to your left. And then this is what we have out there today. It was just a 2-lane commuter road that was used primarily by trucks. Now we have on-street parking, we have bike facilities, wider sidewalks, streetscape elements, and places for art, because Swanee's, they actually have an art tour. You go to the chamber, they'll give you a booklet, and they have sculptures and things like that throughout the city that you can look at. These were some conceptual drawings that we developed before it was implemented, working closely with the community. Another project I want to touch on here is Emory Village. This is at the entrance of Emory University in Atlanta. You can see on the left the existing conditions. It was, I would say it was an octopus, but it only has 5 legs, but it was still very intimidating. Students didn't want to cross the road. The businesses, although at the front door of Emory, were vacant. And then we worked with the community and we developed a vision, which you see on the right. This project opened, and once it opened, the businesses got new coats of paint. their vacancy rates dropped, and so private development typically follows public investment, and I've seen it over and over again. This is what you see today, looking down on that same intersection. I looked around about. We created a pocket park right there in that corner here. If you look right there, you can see it. And you can see the before and the after. So you want to look for opportunities to develop things such as pocket parks. At the end of the day, you want people to be out on, it's kind of weird to be out on the streets, right? Well, no, to be people watching, right? And or hey, you haven't seen your neighbor and or your friend you went to high school with, and you can catch up with them rather than blowing your horn and waving to them. So there's a social aspect of this. This is very, very important for mental health as well. So not only physical health, but mental health as well. On your left, you'll see the existing conditions up top. We had angled parking, cars pulling up, and about 4 feet of a pedestrian zone. And then the cars are backing out into the traffic, and it was always a nightmare. It was up on a hill. And what we did was we worked with the community and the business owners. We got rid of the angled parking. We provided parallel parking, which you see on the right there, and created a pedestrian retail promenade. And that helped activate those buildings as well with ADA access. You can see the ramp that runs up there. So again, it's not just looking at the road, it's looking at the land that's adjacent to the roads. It's very, very important. On the bottom, you can see that remainder of the existing gas station area right at the tip. And then we turned it into a pocket park. Those white vertical elements there, we turned into a sculpture. Those are actually old trolley lines that were found when this project was being constructed, and we incorporated it into the pocket park, giving it, again, some unique identity. North McDonough was a 4 and a 5 lane road. The ADT was about 11,000. This is right in front of Decatur High School in Decatur, Georgia. We did a road diet, a traffic analysis, and we converted it to just 1 lane in each direction. We have a buffered 2-way cycle track and improved pedestrian zones and green infrastructure. So when it rains, the water goes into these beds that are buffering that cyclist from the travel lane. So this is a protected, dedicated bike facility here. You can see it under construction on the left with the green infrastructure. And then again, some after construction pictures. We have a mid-block crossing and another picture of our storm drainage. At the time, this was it may still be the longest application in the urban area of green infrastructure. And it's been very successful. Since then, the city's had us design and green infrastructure in a number of neighborhoods, and as well as some other locations where we've designed and had shared use paths constructed. It's been very successful. Up top is, I want to talk a little bit about active transportation. So trails, shared use paths are great ways to break down the connectivity barrier. This project was constructed in 2023. The citizens did not like crossing State Route 54. It's in Fayetteville, Georgia. It's a state route. The speed limit is posted at 55 miles an hour. Cars are doing 70 through the intersection. And there's a hospital right on the other side of the intersection. But the employees, the patients, and the patients' families were concerned of crossing this intersection. So we dropped in a 190-foot bridge for pedestrians and cyclists only. And this was using federal funds called transportation alternative projects or programs, and it was successfully constructed. Down at the bottom is another shared use path that was constructed in Decatur using green infrastructure. It was just built. These are from the winter, so plants aren't really coming up and the striping's not in. Since then, they've asked us to extend this shared use path, which you see in the bottom right-hand corner, and we're in the middle of the design phase for that. So a complete street, right? Ideally, you know, it's got transit, it's got peds, it's got cycling and vehicles. And well, if it's just a 2-lane road for cars and you were able to get new sidewalks in there that were safe, you've made it a more complete street. You've done your job, you know. Maybe there wasn't a need for cyclists. So it's really looking out for the vulnerable user who has no airbags attached to them, or pedestrians or cyclists, and looking for the underserved communities so people can get from their home to work safely. There is something I want to say about transit. Transit stops have a high percentage of pedestrian crashes, excuse me. And places I've been, they're typically underlit at night. And a lot of times that's when the pedestrians will be involved in a crash. So if you have a pedestrian stop, you should have ADA access to and from the stop. You should have a safe sidewalk to the transit stop, appropriate lighting, and it would be great to have a shelter and some seating if you can get that in there. But it's more than just a sign. I work with a lot of other communities who will just put a sign in and even in Atlanta at a MARTA stop. But there's no way for anyone to get there if they're walking, if they have mobility issues. So it's very, very important. But my real point there is transit stops can be, if they're not treated appropriately, they can be dangerous. And if historically, a lot of pedestrian crashes do unfortunately occur at transit stops. So let's make sure we do not forget about the transit riders. So project going to construction. This is addressing some street frontage and providing an elevated greenway that connects to an existing greenway along Big Creek Park, Big Creek Greenway in Alpharetta, Georgia. So trails, sidewalks, the appropriate bike facilities, and transit stops where transit is provided at minimal should be elevated in the new outlook of transportation planning. So with that, I want to thank y'all and open it up to any questions you may have. If there's any specific condition, I'll be more than happy to address that. If you'd like to talk more about grants, that's fine too. I could pull up an example of a connecting community grant if that would be helpful. But I just really want everyone on the call. You're on the call because you have a desire and a passion to improve the world and leave your mark. And by improving other people's quality of life, it typically improves your life as well. So I highly encourage you to seek out the appropriate grant. Reach out to me if you have questions I can help with. I put my shoes on to pay my bills and then to improve people's lives. That's really what drives me. And everyone on this call, I'm sure, has those same desire and passion. So with that said, I will open it up for any questions you may have. And I really appreciate you all joining this morning. And we're looking at having a part 2 of this as well, which may get more into the technical aspects of how you would maybe go about planning or designing a complete street in different contexts. But I just wanted to provide an overview today, touch on the pedestrian and streetscape guide. It's a great resource, as well as the FHWA website we were looking at earlier, to really get familiar with the opportunities that are out there. There's been a tremendous amount of federal funds provided for transportation projects over the last number of years, and I hope it continues. So with that, thank you, and please let me know if there are any questions. I'll be glad to answer any.
All right, thank you, Mickey. Appreciate it. What a great presentation. Just as Mickey have said, I want us to kind of look it from that angle. You know, he just showed us something about how the transformation of those areas kind of I'm gonna say invoke economic development.
Yes.
Okay. And I know one of the challenges that rural areas in Southwest region we are facing is, you know, financing, you know, funding to do projects, stuff like that. And we can make our city more beautiful, more attractive. That can call for investors to kind of look into our communities. Some people just love a quiet area, the quiet environment. And but there are some things that the basic things that they would love to see. They want a safe community. They want a community that are kind of connected together to places, you know, whereby you can reduce the number of vehicles on the road network. People can make use of other alternative transportation. People on the wheelchair can go on their motorized wheelchair and go to the nearest convenience store to do whatever they want to do. They don't have to depend on second or third party to do whatever they want to do. So with that being said, you know, I want us to kind of view it in different way. You know, Mickey may have shown us a bigger project, but it doesn't necessarily that you have to go into that big, the big picture of this kind of a project. But you can have a smaller version of what, you know, replicate what you're seeing in your community.
Yeah,
okay?
That's right, Kay. It's scalable, right?
Yeah. So depending on, you know, the needs and like what they say, you know, you need community support. This is a community-driven project.
Yes.
You know, and sometimes, you know, maybe I might be thinking you need a pairs of shoe, whereas what you need is a cloth. You don't need a shoe. And if I'm walking in that direction, I'm just walking in vain because that's not what you need. So that's why it's a, you know, it's a community-driven project. You know, the community would like to see this. I know I've been, you know, going to you know, meeting our elected officials and other communities in our region, in the area of community, in the area of comprehensive plan. And I don't know, maybe they kind of struggle to kind of identify project things that they believe, I mean, that I feel will be a better project that can help them to to improve the economic development. But it's one thing for me to see something, it's another thing to understand if that's what it needs. You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
So yeah. So
And
but I
that's what,
know
yeah,
everybody, when you go to any city in any part of the world, you want to go to the downtown. The downtown will be the most the center point of focus that I want to look at how the downtown looks like, and I just want to see what's going on. And when you get to the heart of the town, and it's just like it's so quiet, nothing. It might be quiet, but you have some kind of
have
futures,
safe
things that can
facilities.
exactly that
I mean,
can,
so this is a suburban area, right?
exactly. So
Rural context, right? But at least
exactly.
someone can get to and from. Now, if this was in Southeast Georgia, where I grew up in Waycross, I'd want a lot more shade out here than what I'm seeing. But I think you get the message here. Without this facility here, this is only 4 cars, and so if we've made by putting in this facility here, it's made it a more complete street. And so the idea is to chip away from the old paradigm that roads and streets are just for cars. There is a couple of things I want to mention here. Investigate with your municipality. Have you adopted a complete street policy? That would be something to look into. And basically, it says when we're evaluating roads, and it's worded in different ways and different circumstances, we're not only just looking at cars, we're looking at all users, and safe facilities for all users. So encourage your elected officials to adopt a complete street policy, and also a vision zero goal where there are 0 deaths associated with your transportation network within your city or municipality or town or community. Work with your elected officials to get those in place. What that does is it helps promote and emphasize the elected officials' care and response to all users. It promotes civic pride. When you drive into a small town and there are street trees and pedestrian lights and safe sidewalks, that promotes civic pride, and it is a catalyst for redevelopment and activity along the street.
Exactly.
So yes, definitely, if you don't have a complete street policy or or a vision zero goal, those are 2 items to really look into, seeing if you can be a champion and promote those, because those are the complete street policy is the guiding document, really, the guiding policy for addressing roads. It's really converting roads to streets or modifying roads in some form or fashion to where it's not just for cars. So not all streets and not all roads are going to have transit. Not all are going to have bike facilities. But they should all have pedestrian facilities, except the interstate, right? We all know it's illegal to walk on the interstate, but dig in, see what policies your city has, go through the Muni code and search for a complete street policy. And if you don't have one, see if that's something you can encourage your department and your elected officials to adopt.
Okay.
That will also help with your grants and having money awarded to you.
And another thing that I want to add to that is, I know in the Southwest region, Georgia, a lot of subdivision communities don't have the sidewalks. They don't have these sidewalks. I don't know, maybe because of the subdivision regulation does not compel them
Mhm.
to have those sidewalks. And if you look at in this neighborhood or this subdivision, most of the time you see people making use of the side of the road, walking in the morning. You know, it's kind of like the pedestrian fighting with other road users like the motorists. And you know, you have to be careful, you're the driver, because the part that they are treading is not that safe, but they just have to make use of that, you know, that space to go back and forth. So another thing that I personally, this is my opinion, that I would like to see, you know, changing the paradigm of, you know, just letting subdivision builders just build houses
Mhm.
without a sidewalk, because once you have a sidewalk established in this subdivision,
Mhm.
the city can connect their own, you know, sidewalk plan that we're talking about can be connected to those subdivision, and you can, you know, this connectivity can go around. So you walking out from your subdivision without using the main road, but you using the sidewalks or the pedestrian facility, and you connecting to places, to walks, to convenience stores, and safely, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah. And you've mentioned something we could just touch on for just a second, Kay, and that's destinations, right? So we all know about safe routes to school, or if not, uh, uh, research it. But schools are great locations to make sure that you at least have safe pedestrian facilities connecting to the schools. I've worked on a number of projects from all ranges, from large scale to small, inexpensive projects. But I'll tell you, recently I did a project here in Georgia. There were two schools located within, I would say, about 2,000 feet, two elementary schools from this residential neighborhood. Well, every morning, the parents and the children were walking in the streets, and lots of parents, and they would all park down in this road and just off the side of the road. And it was just a mess. It was really chaotic. And then they're walking through the streets. And yeah, of course, people aren't doing 50 miles an hour down these residential streets. But when you have people parking on either side and kids and parents walking, it was very, very scary, or it bothered me. But we put in a sidewalk to these two schools, and there's nothing that makes me happier than to see. I'll drive out there some mornings when school's in session. It's out now, and just watch the parents and the kids walking on the sidewalk, grade separated, elevated sidewalk with a buffer from the street. And something simple like that can change the lives for the better, for the greater common good. So, you know, schools are great locations to look for. Major employers, right? Who, you know, whomever that is, making sure that they have equitable transportation facilities to get there. Um, and so destinations are very, very important. Um, we've got one here from Valdosta, Georgia, the Azalea Trail Shared Use Path. Um, actually spent a year down there in college. But at any rate, finding these opportunities is really, it could start with you. But then you could garner support from the community, and then you've got your project. And again, that really having the community behind it is important. Um,
So, I mean, we are still waiting on the questions. You know, if you have any questions on,
yeah, and
um,
if you don't have questions for now, you can email those to Kay And Kay knows how to find me, and I'll be more than happy to provide you any help or guidance so you can improve your particular community, your particular road, street, or transit stop, or whatever. So just doing this out honestly, because I care and I want to help others develop safe transportation modes within their community that are equitable. So please reach out, and Kay will get with me, and we can go from there. But it looks like we're coming near our time here.
We have 4 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
4 minutes left here.
Yeah,
And
but
I think
I was gonna
if you are interested in this PowerPoint presentation, I think it's something, Mickey can share with all the participants.
absolutely.
So if you just let us know,
Yes.
we can send it out to you all. And I know we have very limited time, but
Mhm.
back when you're less busy and you trying to like kind of check this presentation again, and whatever questions that you would like to ask or concern, you can reach out to us, and I can connect with Mickey, and we can better assist us or respond to the question if I'm not able to like respond to those questions that you have.
Yes.
Just let us know, and
Yes.
just let us
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. We're here to help
Um,
you. One thing I wanted to point out here is this is just based on data and historical data. But let me enlarge this just a little bit. So if a car hits a pedestrian at 20 miles an hour, there's a 13% likelihood of fatality. Once it goes up 10 miles an hour, it jumps up significantly to 40%. And then obviously another 10 jumps up significantly. It shows you stopping distances in here. There's just a ton of really good information in this book that I want you to utilize. A rural town, right? So at any rate, I really appreciate your time this morning, and all the best with your projects. And please reach out to Kay, and thank you, and have a great day.
Well, thank you so much. We're rounding up now. I think it's almost 11:30.
Right.
On behalf of Regional Commission and the presenter, I want to thank all the participants to create the time to be part of this virtual meeting. We appreciate your time, and we are expecting to take the information that we have received today back to your community, and to make it a better than the best place to live. Like we said, we want to thank you, and just reach out to us if you have any questions, and we'll be able to respond. If we can, we'll help you with the resources that can help you to address those needs. Thank you once again for being part of this training. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Y'all have a great day.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Right.